Darrion Williams is the big fish of Will Wade's roster in year one, but can he be the ACC Preseason Player of the Year? John Rothstein thinks so.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Monday show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can sign up today and get $200 back in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. Yes, that's right. $200 back in bonus bets if you sign up, place a $5 bet, and it wins. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started today. Happy Monday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, we're still talking some NC State basketball. This might be like the latest we've talked about through the summer about NC State basketball in quite some time, but we're enjoying doing so. When you have players like Darrion Williams and you have national talking heads like John Rothstein that are bringing some big words to the table, how could you not be excited as an NC State Wolfpack fan? On Monday, on his show on CBS Sports, John Rothstein stepped up and said Darrion Williams should unequivocally be the ACC Preseason Player of the Year. Those are some big words to follow. Let's play a little bit of a clip here.
I think if you really look in deep, I think unequivocally, you look at the personnel, you look at the criteria for the personnel, and then you start looking at the production of the personnel. And Darrion Williams, who transferred from Texas Tech to NC State, should unequivocally be the ACC Preseason Player of the Year. Look at what Williams did in the NCAA tournament last year. 4 NCAA tournament games for the Red Raiders, who advanced all the way to the Elite Eight before losing to Florida in a devastating loss in Northern California. What did Darrion Williams do in those 4 games? 21 points, 7 rebounds, about 3 assists. That is what you are looking at if you are an NC State fan. This is somebody, again, who was not the focal point for Texas Tech because Texas Tech had the Big 12 Player of the Year and an All-American in JT Toppin. Now Darrion Williams comes to NC State and he gets a bigger bite of the apple. Now Darrion Williams comes to NC State and he gets the opportunity to showcase his ability to be a focal point for Will Wade and the NC State Wolfpack. And if you're looking again at a preseason All-ACC first team, I would go with Cam Boozer. I would go with Darrion Williams. I would go with Ryan Conwell, who I absolutely love from going from Xavier to Louisville. I would also go with Marcus Burton, and I would go with Seth Trimble. Can you make a case for other players? Sure. So it's really, when you split the atom, based on winning, based on production, and based on the situation that he's going to find himself in, Darrion Williams from NC State should unequivocally be the ACC Preseason Player of the Year entering the 25-26 season. And I don't even think it's much of a debate.
Unequivocally and not much of a debate, Kenton. Do you think that Darrion Williams really could be the ACC Preseason Player of the Year?
Grayson, this means something to me, man. When's the last time we had a player that was ACC Preseason Player of the Year in basketball?
TJ Warren wasn't even the preseason Player of the Year. He ended up winning it, but long time since preseason. I don't even know if I can name one for you.
I don't think Cat Barber was Preseason Player of the Year either.
Nope.
I don't think Trevor Lacey was Preseason Player of the Year either. I know DJ Burns wasn't it. Nope. So we got to dig in the archive.
Maybe Julius Hodge, if you go all the way back then.
This means something to me, man. This means something to me. The way that we're talking about Darrion Williams on the national stage, we're not talking about, oh, he'll be an impact player for the Wolfpack. We're saying he's going to be the predicted best player in the ACC. Wow. And you know, what an evil world we live in, that NC State gets a team this great, a coach this great, an ACC Preseason Player of the Year, and then World War III kicks up. Joking. I'm joking, everybody. But in all seriousness, this is a really, really huge moment here because you're talking about the national attention and the love. We're going after big fish now. You said the number 3 overall recruit in the next class has already visited. That's the level. Preseason Player of the Year, that's the caliber of player we're going after now. All-American, that's the caliber of player we're going after now. And that's no disrespect to the guys who've been here. That's no disrespect to the guys that showed up, showed out, and did great things here. No disrespect to either of the DJs, no disrespect to MOC, no disrespect. All those guys. No disrespect. We would never disrespect the guys that took us to our first ACC championship, Final Four, and all that good stuff since before Grayson and I were even a gleam in our mother's and father's eyes. No disrespect to them. We are playing a different ball game now, and this is so significant to them. We are getting all of the preseason love that we have for so long felt like we deserve. The only thing that I will put on this is it is a reminder that served in Alice in Wonderland. Beware of the Bandersnatch, the Jabberwocky, and let me tell you something. We cannot have the law of the wolf happen here. We can't have that moment where we expect a lot and we let down. We have to believe this is a new day, and we've got to slay these demons. We've got to exercise some demons up in the Lenny because this is a new team. This is a new coach. It is a new everything. So don't bring that same old, this is new everything. This is uncharted waters for the past 15 to 20 years or so. And it's time to embrace it, time to do great things in it.
All right, so I went back and found the actual answer. It's CJ Leslie in 2012. That's the last time NC State has had an ACC preseason player of the year. And actually, he didn't even end up winning it that year, but that's the last time, 2012. 13 years we're talking here.
So for reference, Grayson and I are part of the same class in terms of entering and leaving NC State. Neither of us were on campus.
Correct.
Last time. I'm bald now. Grayson's a few steps behind me. Joking. Grayson has a full, wonderful head of hair. But you get the point. It has been quite some time, over a decade, since an NC State player has been named preseason player of the year. This would be massive for NC State.
And I think, Kenton, what you're talking about in terms of recruiting aspect too, when players that are interested in NC State now, and we have some of the top players in the country in 2026 and 2027 that are giving us a pretty good look, if Darrion Williams has the preseason player of the year honors, let's say then he goes ahead and wins the player of the year in the ACC this year. Think about what that does for players looking at Coach Wade, and they're like, man, well, if he can develop Darrion Williams even more than he already came to State as, what can he do with me in 2 years, 3 years? And I think that's a lot of the conversation surrounding like how you get a player like Matt Abel. When you're selling Matt Abel on the vision for him in this system and what he can be in a year to 2 years to 3 years, this is a really big deal. And NC State has severely lacked that type of representation of the best player in the conference because that has not happened since TJ Warren. I think that was 2014, I think it was. It's been a long time. And so for Darrion Williams to already start looks as big as these, if he then follows through and wins the ACC Player of the Year, it has massive implications to the talent level that Will Wade can continue to tap into here in the coming years. So this is a big deal. And I'm sure that John Rothstein won't be the only guy to give him these honors. I mean, we're barreling down the summer here. You're going to start to see more national pundits talk about Darrion Williams and the type of team that NC State is looking to have here as the season draws closer. And what Rothstein was talking about, if you look at a player and he's given you 21-7, not just in the regular season, but in March Madness, when it matters the most, a player that rises to the occasion and makes winning plays in prime time, that is what NC State is now bringing to the table. That is what Will Wade is now bringing to the table. And I think he's on the money, to be honest. And I don't want this to come across as biased, but you're going to think it's biased anyway. I do think Darrion Williams is one of the best players in the ACC, bar none. I mean, you heard Will Wade talking about the player metric system they use. They had Darrion Williams as the number one player returning to college basketball in the portal this year. NC State went out and got that guy. Not just got that guy, but beat the Kansas Jayhawks for that guy. And he's put on the red and white in Raleigh. It's a big deal. So we're going to have to keep an eye on more love that Darrion Williams gets over the course of the summer. But I would bet you anything, John Rothstein may be the first, but he will most certainly not be the last. Tell us your thoughts in the comments. Will Darrion Williams be the ACC Preseason Player of the Year? We certainly think so. Coming up next, we're getting into more ACC basketball talk. We're actually non-conference if you want to get into it. Will Wade, he wants all the smoke. Every atom, every iota, every molecule of that smoke in the air. Give it to him. We'll talk more about this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our Monday show is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are now in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. If you're already following the action, why not make it just a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while all of your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Me personally, I've been using FanDuel to track all of my favorite matchups, and the app always keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even all the regular season baseball games feel like must-watch postseason game. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets if that first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/lockedon in order to get started. Middle portion of our Monday show, continuing to talk Will Wade and NC State basketball here. He just keeps adding big-name schools to his non-conference schedule. On Monday, it was announced that NC State and Ole Miss will play a neutral series, a 2-game series, beginning this fall, and the first game will be in Greensboro. So Ole Miss will come up to the state of North Carolina, play Will Wade in Greensboro Coliseum. The return, I guess you could call it, next year, TBD. We'll see where they decide to play that second game. But Kenton, Will Wade now adds Ole Miss to an already tough non-conference schedule. He wants all the smoke.
You know, we talked about this before. Will Wade is not running. He is not hiding. He is not going to hide his team from the world and say, hey, we're going to play a bunch of scrubs, and then we're going to cruise into the ACC play with a little bit of confidence. And hopefully we hit a good patch of scrubs there. And then, you know, when we run into a real team or two, it might not look great, but we'll be all right. No. He is clamoring for the – let me tell you something. Last time I saw somebody this desperate for the smoke, it was a teenager that was addicted to a vape pen, okay? This man is looking. He is searching high and low. He is turning over every rock in pursuit of high-profile basketball games. He wants it to be hard on this team. He wants to make it clear, hey, we are playing real basketball here. We are not doing anything for bells and whistles. This ain't all for show. This ain't, oh, I'm cool and I want to be called the American gangster, and that's what – no. He's saying, I want my guys to go and show it. I want my guys to have to show and prove who we are. So if we are the team that we think we are, we'll be just fine. And if we're not, we will figure out early and adjust. But this is what I love to see. This is moxie. This is cojones. This is what I like to see.
This is exactly what we need to continue doing, not just this year, but years in the future as well. My only small gripe is that it is a neutral site game and not a home and away. But I get it. I think when you're looking at the net system and how it will, I guess, benefit both teams to play a neutral site, I get it. I just think that games of this caliber are infinitely more fun when they're in Raleigh or in Oxford. But I don't know. Beggars can't be choosers here. The reality of the situation here, if you do play Texas in the Maui Invitational, you will have played 4 SEC teams before Christmas. When is the last time, if ever, you could say that NC State has done that? There is such a dynamic change in the strength of schedule, the flick of a wrist, the snap of a finger. All of a sudden, we're playing some of the best teams in the country. And to be the best, like we're trying to be with Will Wade, you got to beat the best. And that requires running into fire instead of running away from it. And I don't think we as a collective fan base can be more proud of what Will Wade is already building in terms of not just the roster, but the schedule building. You want to play tough teams and prove to yourself that you are who you think you are. Find out who you are before you even get into ACC play. This is where iron will sharpen iron. Also saw here at the beginning, or I guess end of last week, UAB was also added to the non-conference schedule. They've been a pretty solid mid-major the last couple of years. I think they were just one win away from getting a March Madness this past year. And also North Carolina Central. They will be our home opener on November 3rd. So now we have our opening night opponent, North Carolina Central. And I do think it's a little bit odd that we haven't played them more often. And I know there's been several links between Coach Moten and to the NC State job there, you know, around the beginnings of Keats and even some time after. I don't know, kind of a weird situation there. But it's interesting that we have not played them more. But I think you could say the same about like UNCW. Why do we not play UNCW? I think, well, I don't know. Maybe you can think about the answer for that one, but not anymore. I think it'll be interesting to see if we do continue to schedule more of the in-state teams like App State or ECU or North Carolina Central in this instance. Kenton, what do you make of adding UAB and NC Central to the schedule as well?
Hey, listen, the state legislators want to make sure that, you know, teams have to play smaller teams in the state. You know, I guess this is it. Don't stop making it for football, please and thank you. It's much too costly. No, but in all seriousness, this is a you know, it's nice to see. And also Central is perennially a team that is around the top of the MEAC. So, you know, that's nothing to scoff at either. I mean, Lavelle Moten has solidified himself as one of the greatest coaches in HBCU history, particularly at North Carolina Central. So, you know, it's really good to see that's kind of a situation that we're having come through here. It's great exposure for both teams, honestly and truly. And it, like you said, it gives a team from the area, because North Carolina Central is in Durham, for those of you who don't know. So it is very, very close to Raleigh. And it's just a great showcase. It really is an opportunity for both teams to prove their mettle, show what they got and all that good stuff. And if any team deserves the shot, I'm glad that it's Central.
Expanding even further upon the rest of the non-conference schedule here, what I think is interesting on the teams that we know so far, they're all right around the top of their respective leagues. So, like, for example, North Carolina Central, like Kenton just told you, they are one of the top teams in the MEAC each and every year. UAB has hovered right around the top of the American Conference. Auburn, they were the winners of the SEC Conference last year. Kansas, predominantly dominant in the Big 12 for years upon years. Ole Miss had a really good year last year in the SEC. Liberty has been super competitive in Conference USA. UNC Greensboro has been always atop the SoCon. So you get what I'm getting at. And VCU, top of the A10 each and every year. All of these teams that we have in the non-conference schedule are right near the top of each and every league that they play in. Is that not representative of what Will Wade is trying to build here in Raleigh in a quick, short amount of time? We want to be one of the top teams in the ACC, so you got to go out and beat some of the other top teams in their respective leagues. I could not love what Will Wade is doing more, and I think this is just year one amongst many more with the same model. Coming up next, we're going to round out our Monday show talking briefly about some NC State football. Do you think it's been a little bit quiet of a summer? We'll talk more on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Last couple of minutes of our Monday show talking some NC State football. Wanted to spend a couple minutes so far on the recruiting summer that we've seen out of the pack. It's been a little quiet. And Kenton, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on it being so quiet? Because typically in the middle of June, when you're doing camps every week and you have the Alpha Wolf Showcase, you're seeing recruits kind of roll in by the numbers each and every week. Hasn't really been the case so far for NC State. Only 10 commitments as of today. That's June the 23rd. Do you think they're kind of shifting their focus maybe toward the transfer portal? Maybe they have some things coming down the pipeline. What are your thoughts so far?
I'm going to pull the mic close to me when I say this because I need everybody to hear this, including my Alexa. Actually, let me talk to my Alexa for a second. Alexa, play Weary by Solange Knowles, please, because I am concerned. I am concerned. And I'm being very genuine about that. I am not, while I am well connected to the football team, I'm not privy to every single detail about everything. And if this is a pivot to, hey, we are going to, recruit the portal instead of, high school recruits, I would simply ask why. Why? One of NC State's advantages for years has been player development. You still have Coach Thunder in this program. Player development that's one of the things that we hang our hat on. Now, I understand the potential thought of, well, what if you do hit big on a guy and then you turn him into something better or whatever the case may be, and you end up with a KC situation where, we hit it big, so now he's leaving. Okay. I think that that's preferable to having to take shots in the portal, which we've seen don't always work out. With all due respect to Grayson McCall, not saying that he was not a guy who worked hard enough or was anything that was in his control, we saw the product that came out of grabbing a multiple-time Conference Player of the Year elsewhere. And we think to ourselves, no, I'm going to double down. I'm going to double down on that strategy. Why? No. If you hang your hat on player development, keep hanging your hat on player development. Don't get me wrong. Yes, use the portal to supplement your roster. I'm not saying that you can go as far anti-portal as Clemson, because Clemson does a job in high school recruiting. We are not going to mess. That is not realistic for me to say, hey, Darrion, just recruit like Clemson and then you get a couple guys out the portal. It's not realistic. But to me, if I was asking, or if I was being asked rather, where I would spend a majority of my, NIL allotment and all that, if I was NC State football, give me the young guys, because even if I run the risk of them leaving, I also run the risk of having guys turn into superstars here and sticking around, as opposed to, even if you do get a guy or two out of the portal, like a Justin Jolie, who has been just fantastic from day one, first step on this campus, just been wonderful. Even if you do get a guy like him, it normally gives you a shorter shelf life. Justin Jolie is the exception, not the norm, in terms of, I've got this transfer, he's going to be great for years. I'd love to be wrong about that. I'd love for Kenny Soares and for the young man from North Texas, I'd love for those guys to stay here for a very long time and be very good. I would love that. I would love for the transfer from Texas Tech to be a guy that he shuts me up about edge rushing. I would love to see him play so great. I'm like, hey, every knee must bow and tongue must confess. Darrion is the best when it comes to recruiting edge rushing. I'd love to see that. I just don't think that's the case right now. So I think that this team needs to go a little bit more heavily into high school recruits, but we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, the reason I wanted to bring this up, I'll just go ahead and say the quiet part out loud. This class, I'm talking about the 2026 class, doesn't really pop. I mean, you're looking at number 64 overall. And let me get this straight. I'm not trying to pull a Grant Hughes here. I don't want to get ahead of myself. There's still plenty of time for the 2026 class to fill out. But so far, I mean, who's really going to provide a massive impact that you see out of the 10? With all due respect, and again, no disrespect. I'm not trying to be nasty about this at all, but this class is not reflecting a coaching staff that has been as aggressive as they were like a year to 2 years ago. You talk about after we beat Dirty Foot Club the last time in Raleigh, and you get that flip commitment from Keenan Jackson. That recruiting was on a tear, and you saw guys like Jonathan Paylor and the high school ranks, very strong 4-star to fringe 5-star kids looking at NC State. So far, it does not look like that has been the case at all. And so I think it does raise some red flags. I think when you're looking at a lot of the momentum that was lost last year going 6-6 when you had aspirations for much higher, this is kind of the fallout from that. I mean, you're looking at a relatively uninspiring class. So far, it's nowhere close to being done, but I don't know. It kind of does make you wonder if they're going to, value the portal more moving forward, or maybe they just haven't hit on who they were hoping to hit on, but I don't know. I think it does raise a little bit of concern as you're finishing out the month of June here, but we will have to certainly wait and see. I think there's a lot more than just the overall record riding on how they performed this fall in 2025. It's going to have a lot to do with recruiting, national brand perception, and I mean, some other things we've kind of hinted at in episodes past. So this is something to certainly watch here as the summer wages on, and definitely once we kick this thing off come late August. But so far, it's been a little bit uninspiring on the recruiting trail for Pac football this summer. We'll certainly have to wait and see if that changes here before that finishes up. That will do it for us here on Monday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Give us your thoughts on potentially Darrion Williams being the preseason ACC Player of the Year. Give us your thoughts on Will Wade continuing to schedule extremely tough in the non-conference. And then finally, give us your thoughts on the Pac football recruiting summer up to this point. Again, nowhere near finished, but we'll see how they finish out. Anything else you have on your mind, drop that in the comment box as well. We'll catch you right back here on Wednesday for more. And until then, go Pac.
Go Pac.